Why? Okay, so, hey everybody, welcome to Learn Jam 2016. I stopped numbering them, I just use the year now. I think that makes more sense. So, this will be our first lesson of the day, Unreal Engine 4. It's going to go for about an hour. There's so much I could possibly show you that I'm just going to, sort of wade the basics, and we'll start with the template, and I'll show you just around the editor, and then we'll try to make a few simple changes so you can sort of get a feel for what goes where. That's the basic goal, and then there'll be any Q&A, there'll be some audience interaction. For example, we're gonna use the first-person shooter template, which gives us a little gun thing. And my current idea is to make the gun shoot chairs instead of bullets. We'll see how that goes. I think that'll be a fun little experiment for everyone. So really quick show of hands, who has the engine installed and ready to go for this lesson? So raise your hands. That's good. If you don't, either just follow along with me up here or follow along with someone, sitting by you, because I think that will help. Personally,
start the download now though, because Steven's Wi-Fi is pretty quick. You should
and especially on a Sunday morning when no one's awake.
Yeah. So if you start the download now,
you're
like 5 minutes behind the lesson. I'm gonna move to the back just so I can swipe people in easier.
Okay. Yeah, and that just goes, if you haven't swiped in, you should swipe in with Alex right there when he moves to the back. So awesome, it's good to see everybody. I hope to have more people later in the day. The first lesson always has the worst attendance because people don't want to wake up. That's okay. So, if you go, this is the Epic Games launcher. All your launching of the engine will happen from here. They also have a marketplace for assets and other things. We're ignoring all that. You go down to library in the bottom left, and then you hit launch on your engine version. Ignore the fact that 13 is still installing on mine, and I have launched 11. You will launch whatever you have, which is presumably the newest one, 13. These two should look similar enough at a glance that for this tutorial it'll be fine. I also might just stall for the next 2 minutes so I can boot 13. But anyway, actually no, it's gonna have to install that, so never mind. Anyway, I hit launch and I get this screen. So you'll probably start over here at projects. I suspect yours will be blank because you probably haven't made any projects yet. That's okay. We're gonna go to the new projects tab, and you get all these different things. I'm going to explain a few things right now. So you see two tabs up here, Blueprint and C++. Blueprint is Unreal Engine 4's proprietary visual scripting language. It's kind of similar if you've ever worked in, what's the program? It's not SolidWorks, it's another
LabVIEW?
Yeah, LabVIEW. So you can bring out these nodes that effectively think of them as lines of code, and you can connect them visually to each other, and that is the flow of the code. That is the simplest way to interface with Unreal Engine 4. The other way to do it is with a straight up C++ project, which I've found are harder to maintain and are a little more confusing. So for a beginner lesson, I will be showing you Blueprint. I think it's intuitive and simple to get started. And when I was starting out, it really helped me separate the concepts of game development and design and actual computer science coding, which was important for me. But if you're interested in looking up C++, there are a ton of tutorials online after this, and you can accomplish all the same things we're doing in Blueprint and C++ and probably more. So to get started, we're going to go to the first-person template, and down here you have some settings. We're not doing it for mobile. Honestly, I tried UE4's mobile export once. Would not recommend. File sizes are gigantic, and the responsiveness isn't great, in terms of performance. Unity or GameMaker are much better choices for mobile development, in my honest opinion, as someone who loves UE4. Next up, we have quality settings. Both of these are fine. I'm on a fancy dev rig, so I'm going to be choosing max quality. For laptops, you might want to try the other one. I don't know if it changes much, but we are going to check starter content, which will give us a bunch of Unreal Engine 4 provided textures and models and particle effects and nice things to start off with. So you can name whatever you want. I'm going to name it Learn Jam 2016, and the default path is fine, and we're going to create the project. And now that window will close, and now Unreal Engine will open. Double check the recording, and it's still going. Life's good. Cool. This is something you'll have to get used to with Unreal Engine 4. Loading times.
A new version of OBS.
This is OBS Studio, which is like a complete rewrite to be multi-platform.
Is it new?
Newish.
What?
Yeah.
Better?
Yes. The newest run, 5.14, which we don't have currently running. We have 5, the one before that. But it's really stable and really nice. Also works great for my Elgato capture card streaming video games. Anyway, loading screens. They're fun. Unreal Engine big engine, especially on project creation. It takes a little while. There we go. We're in. Let me know. So, the people following along, do you want me to wait a sec so you're all booted up, or are you in? Basically, just give me like a thumbs up if you're in. All right, we got one. Ooh, the MacBook is beating all the laptops. Wow. Go figure. Nice. All right, so we got two. All right. All right, HP behind MacBook. We got Acer. Acer's lagging behind. I don't know. Yeah.
My display driver stopped responding.
All right, we're in. So, is it coming? Alex, you want to look at that for me?
Do all the programs you're using today run on Mac and Windows?
I believe so. Yeah, I think so. I mean, Unity definitely has a Mac version. GameMaker definitely has a Mac version.
Blender does, I just downloaded.
Blender does, and Git, yeah, they all are. Go figure.
I tried downloading Git the other day on my Mac and it just wouldn't.
Right, we're gonna go through the basic Git install steps here because I know that one kind of scares people because it uses the word Unix and people get scared. Oh, good. That's it. That's it. Installing 4.13. Maybe if we don't get very far, I'll just jump over that. So the people have it up. Does your window look basically the same as this? Yeah, good. Enough to follow along. Thank you for this. Let me just look. Why can't? Oh, okay. Please hold for 10 seconds. We're just gonna. A few things. This area in the middle, the biggest section, is your game view. You can hold right click and move the mouse to move it like a camera. And this is how you look around your scene. There's a few ways to move around. The arrow keys work to translate, forward, back, left, right. I believe page up and page down do go up and down. I don't like doing that. I like to be able to navigate entirely with the mouse, so I found that using the scroll wheel to scroll back and forth and looking where I want to go has been the most efficient thing for me, just in my time as an Unreal Engine 4 developer. But it's also worth noting there are the arrow keys, and so that's basic navigation. You can do both. You can move around while looking around. It's all good. It's sort of like a video game. You can phase through everything. So we're in. A few things. The first thing I'm going to show you is how to run your game, because I feel like that's important so we can see what our template has. And that's the big old play button right here at the top. Hit it, and you're in game. You'll notice I'm not controlling it yet. That's because I haven't clicked in. And that is.
How do you click out of the game?
There are two ways. You hit escape to end it, or you can press the tilde key, which opens up the command line, which then gives you your mouse back. I don't know if there's a better way to do that, but that's the way I've always done it. And whenever you're done, you hit enter, and then you're back. So a few things this template gives us. You can move around with WASD. It has all the animation bobbing and stuff. Spacebar jumps. It's a weak jump. We'll work on fixing that too. And the only other thing it gives you, there's no other keys mapped besides. But some of these cubes, that's going to be really deafening on the recording. So really quick, just gonna. All right, so that's what we got so far. So that is how you play a game. Press escape to quit. So immediately off the bat, I'm going to show you a few things in the game world and just show you what they are, what they do. The most important thing is this guy right here, this little invisible capsule thing with a camera and weird arm. This is our character. I don't know why there are two guns, but that's how this works, I suppose, now. But this is our first-person character, which is our character that takes over upon starting the game. So, actually, give me 1 second, guys. I'm just gonna. Oh, that's why I'm done. Never mind. Okay, so this guy, you can move him around anywhere. For example, I can just drag him up in the air. These are how you move things. When you click on stuff, you get these 3 arrows. You get the Z-axis up, down, the X-axis forward, back, and the Y-axis left, right. Also, that gets really annoying because in Unity, Y is up and down, and Z is forward, back, and X is left, right. So all of your axes are going to be wrong depending on which engine you're used to, which is infuriating. But anyway, so we're going to drag him up in the air for a minute, and we're just going to hit play, and exactly what you think is going to happen happens. We hit play, and now we start in the sky, and we fall down. It's not like fall damage or anything has happened, so we could go way higher than that. So, the next thing I'm going to show you is the details pane in the bottom right corner. Any object you've clicked on up in the top right, you then get to see its details down here. A few things you get to see with the first person. You get to see all of his components. We'll get to that later. But very useful. We have transform, which is his actual XYZ coordinates. Excuse me. So you don't want to have to drag him around. For example, if I don't want to have to drag his Z up to 70,000 units, I can just type 70,000. And now he's 70,000 units up. Now we hit play, and we're much higher now. We'll see if I can, I don't know if there's any aerial drift on this thing, but I'm just holding right. We're going to see if I can miss the map. Oh, yeah. Wow, I fall. Look at them go. I'm falling faster than my bullets travel. We're going to die. That's okay. I don't even know what this game's going to do. It's probably going to delete us. Yep. All right, so that's a weird thing this specific template map does. Ignore that for now. It deletes things that fall out of bounds. That's not normal behavior, or at least not until you start getting integer problems. That's when it starts deleting you, but not until then. But anyway, we're gonna go back to normal. We're gonna say 150 play, and we're back. So, what next? Just to continue over the details pane really quick. There are a bunch of settings in here. For the purposes of this tutorial, we're not going to want it, though we can do something like disable gravity on our character, because he's a physics mesh. So now you hit play, you hit jump, and it didn't work. Nice. Okay. I guess that's not, that's not really applying the same thing. Ignore that. Okay. Moving on, we're going to get into some fun stuff now. So say we wanted to actually change the behavior of our character. So it's also worth noting that normally you won't use, actually, before that, content browser, bottom window. That is effectively a folder browser that you go through your project, and that's all the stuff you have in your project. Hit this button in the top left to get an actual folder view. I like this a lot. Very useful. So over here you can see we have 4 folders: first person BP, geometry, and starter content. Starter content is there because we checked that little box that said we want starter content. Geometry is a bunch of things. So we click on geometry and double click meshes. You see we have 4 things: cube, another cube, a material for the cube, and a floor. None of that's very interesting, is it? So we're going to ignore it for now. I believe in starter content, you go to starter content, and there's a folder called props. So double click starter content and then double click props. Now we have some cool things like a chair. To add something to your world, literally click and drag it from the content browser onto the map, and then let go, and into place. And now, by clicking on it, you can see its detail pane, and you can enter its coordinates manually or drag it around. But say we wanted to rotate it instead of translate it. Right up here, there's a whole bunch of settings up here, but the one your character right now are these 3. The keyboard shortcuts are W, E, and R. So W is the translation, E turns it to rotation, and R turns it to scale. If you don't want to remember keyboard shortcuts, the buttons are right here. So we're going to do rotation and turn the chair on its head by doing 180 degrees. Then we'll switch back to translation with W, or this button, and then drag it back up into the world. Then we hit play, and we see our chair. Well, notice it's not doing anything. It's not falling. It's just balancing in a way that it shouldn't be able to. That's okay. We can jump on it. Our bullets, our paintballs, whatever you want to call them, do bounce off of it because it has collision. And that's it. So we should be able to, if we go down here on details, we can hit the simulate physics button, which is a little checkbox right there. And now we do that, we save, we hit play. And now, it fell, and we can shoot it, and it's gone. I didn't expect the bullets to be that strong. Anyway, so one quick, real small thing. I'm going to drag this out because I need to be able to see these. This is how you would build your level. We're going to get into this a bit later, but there are a ton of categories. The simplest one is geometry. There's also basic. For basic, so you see how we actually see the guy's gun and his arms? I still don't know why there are 2, but ignore that for now. See how we can see this in-game? That's not actually usually how you do it in Unreal Engine 4. So I'm going to delete him. He's gone now. I just pressed the delete key. And instead, you want to drag out what's called a player start. And so now, all you see is this little guy. He's just a capsule. And when I hit play, it's still there. Nothing changed. You may wonder, well, why did you bother doing that then? Well, the reason is the game. So how does the game know to say make the guy with the gun our player? And it knows that through something called a game mode, which is set by default in these templates. But if we go into the blueprint thing, and then, so first person BP, blueprints, you see 4 things. You see the first person character itself, which is our guy with the gun. You see first person game mode, and that is what we're going to look at right now. Double click it. You'll see a lot of things. You can pick these up just like your Chrome tabs, and you can bring it to the top so they actually work like tabs. I find that very nice. They added that feature in like 4.7, and it was great. So there are a lot of settings here I've never ever touched, but the only ones you care about here are classes. For example, default pawn class. A player that you can control is called a pawn in Unreal Engine. That is, yeah, so you can create other pawns that aren't our first person guy. But with a pawn, you can set it to any pawn the game knows about, which is any actor you set to be a pawn, and there's first person character. So bam, when you do that, you hit compile, close it, and it was like that by default. But now, when you get a player start, the player start asks the current game mode, hey, who is the player to start with? And then it says it's a first person character. And that is now why when you press play, you get the guy with the gun. So that is the beginnings. That is how now. We're going to actually do some fun things now. So we're going to double click the first person character himself. And this is going to be another big window. Don't be intimidated. I promise this is all very doable. Just, it is a lot. So bear with me. We'll get through this together. Okay. So right at the bat, what the hell is all this spaghetti shit? Am I right? So, they are well commented in the in this template. You'll notice they have head-mounted display motion controller support already built in. That's for VR. We're gonna ignore the hell. I'm going to. Damn it. And it's gone. Wow, crazy. That's gone too. Cool. Anyway, making that simpler for ourselves. We're going to ignore a lot of this for now. This thing down here is all the logic for how to shoot the bullet. It also has to worry about playing the animation of the gun recoiling. That is beyond the scope of this lesson. So ignore all this for now. But what we're going to start with is the jump. So if we go to zoom in on the jump thing, you can zoom in by just scroll wheel. You can also drag around by holding right click and moving around. What's up?
Nothing.
Awesome. So you'll notice we have what's called input, action, jump. These are defined in a settings thing I'll show you in a little while, and you can name them whatever you want, and they're mapped to whatever you want. In this case, jump is mapped to the space bar and also the A button on an Xbox controller. So if we connected an Xbox controller right now, we would be able to jump, which is awesome. This is what lets you, instead of going manually every single time, well, if they press the space bar or press the A button or press the X button on a PS3 controller, then jump. You can just throw it all into this one thing that just says jump. Makes it much more real. Anyway, so you'll notice there's two lines coming off this thing, pressed and released. So that is exactly what you think it is. One event gets called when you press down the button, the next gets called when you release. Now you may be wondering, well, what the heck is just jump? Normally on functions with these sort of names, you can double click them to jump over what they do. In this case you can't, and that's because Unreal Engine 4 has a lot of like default physics things for actors like this to sort of pull the work off of you and instead give you control in other ways. So we have jump and stop jumping, which are built into the physics player object, which is down here, character movement component. I'm going to read its description really quick. It handles movement logic for associated character owners. It supports various movement modes, including walking, falling, swimming, flying, and custom. It's affected by velocity and acceleration. Acceleration is updated in each frame, blah, 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 blah. Okay. We don't care about any of that because it works. I know some people are probably cringing hearing me say that, but that is, you have two options on Unreal Engine 4. Either stick with what they give you and make it work, or do it from scratch, because there's no middle ground. So I found, especially for this tutorial to get started, sticking with what they've given you, because it's pretty powerful. So we're going to start with that. And thankfully, by clicking on this character movement thing, which is where jump and stop jumping go to, we get all these settings in the details pane again, similar to the other window. So there's a ton. There's gravity scale, max acceleration, braking friction, and if you highlight over these, they give you a detailed description of what they do. So what I'm going to do
Can I stop you for a second?
Yeah.
By the way, if anyone's like gets stuck on anything or has any questions,
Please
raise your
interrupt
hand
me.
and I'll come. I'm like the assistant right now.
Mhm.
Okay.
He's my TA, basically.
Yes.
So if we go to jumping slash, we notice that our jump velocity is set to a very interesting 420 units. We are going to...
Wow.
I didn't do that. That was the default,
How
okay?
dank.
So I'm going to add a 0 on the end and press enter. And now, anyone have any guesses what that's going to do? You're going to jump higher, was the real answer. Ready? Bam. Say what?
Do we have to press compile first?
If you don't and you press play, the game will try to compile every single blueprint for you. So for example, you can compile things incorrectly or set up the blueprints such that they don't work and then try to hit play, and upon play it'll tell you, hey, your blueprint's broken. So I've been told it saves time if, oh jeez, I forgot. Okay, that's a bit too much. So we're gonna go back here, we're gonna change that. We're just gonna increase it from 420 to like 600. Thank you. We're gonna save, we're gonna compile. I just get in the habit of hitting compile, sort of like compulsively saving, you do you. So you hit play now, we jump, and we jump a bit higher. So maybe we can jump on top of this box now. We can. But you'll notice I still have a really hard time controlling where I'm going in midair. Like I'm gonna jump forward and then immediately hold right. I barely move. So that's actually a setting, surprisingly. And that is air control, which is currently set to 0.05. To set it to 1 would mean you can literally just walk in midair. Isn't that how Source Engine games work?
No, not really.
No, it's close though.
Source
we're gonna set it
is really jank stuff.
I know. We're gonna set it to 0.9 and then save and compile. You can feel free to make these numbers anything you want. For example, I don't know what happens if you set the number greater than 1. Feel free to test it out and let me know. I suspect they'll move at twice walk speed in air, which would mean the speedrun strat for your game would be to keep jumping. Anyway, hit play. Now, I can move basically perfectly, actually better than I can on the ground in midair. So you notice we get really fine control over where we're moving in midair. You can, of course, tweak this to your specific game, but for example, if you were making an interesting first-person platformer, maybe you would want to have better air control, maybe you would want less air control for more precise jumps ahead of time. Because now I can really easily aim. So what do you want to work on next? Do you want to work on changing what the bullets do? Yeah? Alright, cool. So real quick, we're going to look at first-person projectile, which is another blueprint down in the first-person BP folder, and that is the little ball that gets launched out every time you click. So there's a lot going here. So the one event thing we have here is on event hit, which means anytime this object hits any other object that can be hit, which are typically physics objects and other objects you create. This is useful for, say, a bullet hitting a wall, or your character hitting a surface. In this case, what they do is they add an impulse, which is why, say, the chair went flying when we hit it. We can make this impulse more or less. For example, we can change times 100 times 200, and save and compile and run. And now when we shoot the chair, it will go, it goes like that. It goes fine. There it goes. It's gone. Okay, so let's change this up a little bit. So in the view, if you click over to the viewport, this is this tab right here in the top left. This is what your object looks like in game. And notice it's a ball. Wow, exciting. So for now, we're going to change what's called its material. By going down to material, think of it as a texture. There's a bit more to it than that, but for the sake of this tutorial, materials are basically just things that get painted over the surface of an object. So if we click the little drop down, we have a lot of materials because we imported starter content. I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to make mine brick. So there are a ton of brick. Which one should I pick? Shout out number from 1 to 5.
3.
I heard 3. And now it looks like a brick thing. So now, when we shoot, it's hard to see, but there they are. Okay, so I'm going to make mine basically disappear as soon as they so real quick, you don't have to do this because it's a little more complicated, but if you go down to starter content particles, we have a P explosion. If you double click it, you can see what it looks like. It looks like an explosion. Looks cool. So, real quick, on event hit of this thing, so basically whenever it hits something.
Which tab is this? Which tab is this?
We're now in first-person projectile.
Okay, first-person projectile event.
Yeah. Either way, so right now there's this thing called a branch, which is literally an if statement. Just if a thing is true, go to the true, otherwise go to the false. makes total sense, I think. And right now what this thing does is it checks if the object you hit has physics. And if it does, make it go flying. If it doesn't have physics, you can't make it go flying, so we don't try that. In this case, so it's all very readable too. You start at the event hit, which is when it bumps into something. You follow it to branch. The condition is move back again. If the other comp, as in the other thing we hit, is simulating physics, then branch, go to true. And now we get our velocity, and then we shut it, basically. And then we, in the case of us hitting something that matters, we destroy ourselves. So what I'm also going to add, before we destroy ourselves, so I'm going to drag out this little, it doesn't matter, but I can break this by right-click and breaking the link, and now we wouldn't destroy ourselves. What I'm going to do is right-click, and you can type emitter, which is how you type a particle effect, or to spawn an emitter at location. So click that, and now the blueprint node appears. And if you didn't already, you can just drag this to there to connect that, and then drag this to here to connect that. Now it'll go from here to here to here. I think that makes sense. But now it asks us what's the emitter template we want. So
Everyone good?
Yeah. Everyone still following? Yeah? Yeah.
No, I didn't catch how you got to spawn there.
All right. So in this case, you can there's two things you can do. You can drag out from the node and then let go, and this window appears. Alternatively, you can right-click, and the same window appears. And then I literally typed emitter. That is basically how you find blueprint nodes all the time, unless you want to start drilling down from folders of nodes, which I find much more annoying. In this case, we're going to do spawn emitter at location. And you click that, and then it appears. Then you can connect the arrows. And you'll see this thing has a bunch of, effectively, parameters. Think of it, if you know code, as method name, open parenthesis, what does it want? So now, the first thing it wants is an emitter template. We're going to choose the dropdown, and we're going to choose explosion. Now it says explosion. Next, we want to know where to put it. And if we leave if we don't touch anything else, explosions will keep appearing at 0, 0, 0, just in place, not where we want them. So instead, we're going to drag out backwards from location. And now, anytime you type something, it'll only provide results that could give you possibly a location, a vector, which is a data type. In this case, we're going to say actor location. And then there's a method called getActorLocation. The bullet is an actor. Every actor has a location, rotation, scale, etc. We want its location because we want the explosion to be in the same place as the bullet was. And we're not going to touch anything else. And then we hit compile and save. Everyone with me? Now we jump back over and we hit play. My play is under a stupid thing. Now, if you shoot normally and you hit anything that doesn't go flying, you're fine. But if you shoot the chair, it explodes. And then so that's now we've done something in code. Good job. Next up though. So everyone good? Does it work? Any problems?
Yeah, anyone stuck on anything? If so, I can help.
Do your bullets explode? If yes, you're doing a good job. If not, we can help you. Okay, ready? Let's change more about this bullet. We're going to go back in the bullet, projectile, viewport. Now we're here again. I think this ball is really boring, so we're going to get rid of it. Click on it and delete it. So now this thing only has two things left. If for some reason it has what's called a projectile motion component, we're not touching that. And it has a collision component, which is a sphere collision. This is invisible in game, but it's how the game detects if your bullet is colliding with something, which is actually different. It can be different from hitting. Yes?
Is that like a hitbox?
Yes, literally a hitbox. You got it. If you were to say make a game that needed hitboxes, you would be creating these collision components, depending. So, we're going to add something cooler or just weirder to this thing than a ball. So we can add a component, and there are a ton of things we could add. We could add a point light such that the bullets would be invisible but then shine light on everything. We're going to not do that. We're going to add what's called a static mesh, which is a fancy word for a model. That's it. So we click static mesh, just click it, and you hit enter. We don't care about what its name is. And you'll notice, wow, we have arrows, but there's nothing there. If we click on something else, nothing appeared. That's because the static mesh isn't set to be anything, so it's a null model, or nothing. So, right here on the details pane, you have an option for static mesh. You're going to hit the drop down, you have a ton of options. I leave it to you to pick what you want, but I'm going to find the chair, because I find that funny. So, where's my chair? Or we could do a bush. What's
Dude, the bush.
All right, we have a bush. Now you may notice the bush
Bush
is
OP,
kind of
please, nerf.
really big for this bullet. On the one hand, that's fine. We can still do that. And I'll show you what it looks like really quick. Bushes explode upon hitting things. That's gone. That's gone. That's gone, yeah. Look at them go. Okay. So, anyway, a few things we could do to make that look nicer would be to take this and move it so it's the center of the bullet. You can then also mess with its scale to make it smaller. For example, 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. And now, it's a bit closer to our intended appearance. You know, that collision covers most of it now. So if we hit save, compile, and run, looks a bit better. The bush looks silly to be that small, but you know, that works. Let's try something else. We'll go through a few of these. We're gonna do the chair, because I find that really funny. This should be fine. How should we rotate it? Should we rotate it stupidly? Like, just do that. Notice like my movement axes are all weird now. It's probably fine.
Is there a way to set it to global?
I set this to 0, 0, 0, and now I move this down a bit. I'm not sure if there is, by the way. That's a good question. Now we have chairs that explode. We can shoot our chair friend, and he's gone. And look at him go. I'll send some friends after him. Okay. Anything else we want to do with this bullet? Want to make it bigger? Want to... I don't know. Anything? Any ideas? Yeah?
Can you make it like move faster or be affected by gravity, like an actual bullet?
Right. So right now it is affected by gravity. If you watch as we fire it up, but we can mess with all of this. You are totally correct. So right now when I shoot straight up, it's going to notice how it's arcing back down. A better example would be here. See how it hits the ground and then bounces? So we can change all that. And I believe in this case we can change it by going to this projectile logic here. Yep. So we notice there's initial speed and max speed. We can increase that a lot if we wanted. We can make it go at 30,000. There do become problems when you make it move so fast. I think you'll start clipping through things, or otherwise causing problems depending on how your collisions are set up. But let's see. The projectile gravity scale. We can make it to 0. Compile. And now they'll go in a straight line forever.
Can you make it negative?
That's a great question. Let's find out. Gravity scale, -1. I bet this works.
Yes, this totally works.
Yeah! Look at them go.
My people need me.
Look at them go. Okay. So let's see. What else can we do? We should work on making one actor from scratch that like does something that they didn't give us. So let's first things first. We're gonna add a new button for ourselves. It'll do something new. So a new input action. In this case, we go to Edit on the main window, Project Settings. There's a ton here, but we're gonna go down under Engine to Input. It's down here if you can see my screen. Boop. And now on the top there are bindings. That's what we care about. We want action mappings. Notice there are 3: Jump, Fire, and Reset VR. Ignore all the VR shit. Next, we're gonna hit the plus button. What do we want our new button to do? Give me something we want to do. I think I want to create an object of some kind in the world. So we can make it say called spawn. What key should we map? We could do something easy like E or Shift, or something stupid like right click or middle mouse button. Anyone have a favorite key on the keyboard or mouse? Going once, going twice.
A.
What?
A.
A?
A.
A is already mapped. Give me another one.
C.
Alright, we'll do C. Now you notice I hit C, and a million things came up. That's annoying. It's a thing that happens. You have to scroll down and find the literal C. There's no way to make that easier. I've tried. So you save. Notice these little checkboxes here. We can make them have to hit Shift C, Control C, Alt C, or Command C, which is funny because Windows doesn't have a command button. Don't know how that would work. Anyway, maybe it's the Windows key. But so now we have a spawn button. We're going to close this. As long as you hit Enter, it's there. You can close it. I closed it with the middle mouse button. You can also hit the X button. So we're going to go into our first-person character now. So there's a ton of stuff here. We're just going to go over here somewhere. Zoom in. We're going to right-click. And we named our action Spawn. which is going to have a few conflicting things because a lot of other things are called spawn, like that spawn emitter from location we used before. But right here we have action events spawn, and that is the one we want. So click it, and now you get your pressed release node again. So what do we want to do? We're actually going to have to come back to this because we want to create a new object. So click back out and go to your first person blueprint folder and then blueprints, back to where your character is. But we're going to right click in this window. We're going to right click and make a new blueprint class. So click it. Everyone at the screen? Yeah, thumbs up. Yeah, awesome. So now you get a ton of options. If we wanted to make a pawn, that would be something like making sort of what our character is, but they've actually made that even easier for us by making a character, which is a type of pawn that includes that character motion thing. If you say you didn't want to use their character motion thing and wanted like a tank or something more unique to your game, you'd make a pawn and then define everything in there. We're going to make a pawn right now, actually. So click pawn. What do we want? What do we want it to be? We can make it something simple, like a chair. We can make it something advanced. I don't know. Don't want anything? Anything specific? Go once. I can make it.
Make it the rude sandstone.
No, we're not covering audio in this tutorial. Well, I'm going to make it a chair because I like chairs. We're just going to name it. We're going to name it chair, even though it's a really shitty name because it's not descriptive. We're going to name it chair. That's bad name practice. You shouldn't do that, but this is a tutorial, so I can do what I want. So we double click our chair, and there's nothing there. Go figure. When you create a blank pawn class, there's not much there. So if you jump over to the event graph, which is where the majority of the scripting will happen. Hello, we have new people. They made it.
Hello.
Hello. We are in the middle of Unreal
How are
Engine
you?
4. Anyway, so we're now in our chair pawn. And the first thing we should do is make it a chair. So we can do what we did before. Go to add component. I'm going to type static mesh, or just the first few letters. Hit it, and hit enter. We have a static mesh, but blank again. So you get out our drop down to the bottom right, and type chair, and click it. And now we have a chair again. Awesome. So compile right now. If I drag a chair out into the world, it looks just like the other one we dragged out, but now it's a blueprint, so we can do things to it. So, that's a chair again. We're going to close it. There's no physics on it or anything right now. So what we're going to do though, event graph. Do we want it? So there are three node things they give you to start. There's begin play. So when I start, do something. When someone overlaps with me, do something. Or every frame, do something. We're ignoring all of that right now because we actually want to go back over to our main character now. Nope, not that. That. And now that we have our new fancy event spawn, we're going to drag out from spawn. And we're going to say spawn actor from class, which is this. So click that. And now we need to choose a class. We're going to type chair. Did everyone follow me in that bit? Good? Any objections? Go once, going twice. All right. So now when we press the spawn button, we'll spawn a chair. But where will that chair spawn? Right now by default, it asks for a transform. And all a transform is a combination of location, rotation, and scale. It's a single structure that has all of it. Think of it as an array, where array 0 is location, 1 is rotation, 2 is scale. We can drag out and say create and make and click make transform, and now you have the option to make all three. And we're going to drag out from location and do what we did before, which is get actor location. I'm going kind of fast, so let me know if you need me to clarify anything I just did. Now this is going to be slightly problematic because the chair is going to spawn literally inside and on our character. I'm going to do a thing. We actually can make this. That's going to be annoying. Whatever. We'll see what happens. Maybe it'll bug out. Who knows? So does everyone have what I have here? These three nodes.
Does anyone not have that?
Yeah. Who doesn't have this and is following along? All right. Go. Either you guys are shy or you're doing really good keeping up. So. Oh, what's up?
Can you just go back to the screen?
Oh yeah, sorry.
What was the top right one?
Spawn actor from class, which is under game. So right click. Good? Awesome. the game, and now when we press the C button, because that's what we mapped as our spawn button, nice. What's not working? Huh, that's weird.
Transform set right.
Should be. Viewport, back. Is it? Hold on. So now we're going to learn how to debug. You can do this, you press F9. F9. Now you see the little red dot? You don't have to do this, I'm going to do this. That means now when I get there in game, and I try to do the thing, it'll stop there and let me skip through. It's doing it. But it's not spawning the thing.
Where are you trying to spawn the location to?
Ourself. Us. Like,
Maybe you should pop. Maybe it's spawning inside of you. And, you
and
can
then
move from
for some
there.
reason just not. Oh wait, never mind. That's not a thing. Okay, collision handling override. Try to adjust but always spawn. Let's try that. There it is. Yep, it was actually glitching out because it was spawning inside of us. But now, every time we press the C button, we spawn a chair. And we probably get stuck inside of them. And we can jump on them like a little path. This isn't a good game mechanic, but it's good to learn. So what you've done now, if you have this working, is you've created your own input action, your own pawn, or your own actor, and you've gotten it to spawn in-game by mapping that to the default player. So that's good and all, but we can do a bit better. What we can do is we can, how about we make all the chairs explode on another button? Alright, so we're going to go back to Edit, Project Settings. So Edit Project Settings. We only have about 10 more minutes for this lesson, so actually, that sounds cool, but we're going to do something more boring first. Sorry, we're going to learn how to make a level really quick. So we're going to File New Level. You have three options. We're going to hit Default. It gives you a cute little skybox and a single platform. And it also gives you a player start. So if we hit play, we're basically the same way we were, but now we have the small platform and nothing else. We still have our chairs that fly upward. All good. We gave them a gravity scale of -1 for people who just walked in. But anyway, so say we wanted to make a cute little jumping puzzle where they had to jump forward. How would we make new platforms? There's a few ways. We could copy the one they gave us. This thing is a static mesh, which is just like the models we were using. You know, our gun is a model, the chair is a model. And what you can do is you can hold Alt and then drag in a direction, and you make a second one. You can also do this with rotation and scale, though with moving it seems to be the most useful. So I can drag out another one by dragging Alt and moving up, and I'll drag forward a bit. And now, I hit Control S, so you can just save this as like LJ1 or something. I'm naming it LJ1, name whatever you want. I hit Control S to save the map, that's all. So I clicked this, held Alt, back outward, and then did that again. And now I have 3 platforms. Let's see if I can make the jumps. So you can run out and you jump, and you run and you jump. And you now have technically made something looking like a level. You can do that as long as you want. Of course, we can make more interesting things than that. So you can always add, props and stuff like our bush to make things more visually interesting, add, miscellaneous things. But level geometry is, of course, very important because that's the core of the gameplay if your game revolves around moving around a level. So I'm going to show you what are called BSPs. So if you look on this top left window here, under geometry, there are all these options. I'm going to drag out a box. Now the box, at a glance, looks incredibly similar to this thing below us, right? Same texture, they're both cubes effectively, so what's the difference? This one is a mesh, a singular actor. The only thing you can change about it is its scale. So I can make it 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, but that's it. This thing is what's called a BSP, which stands for Binary Space Partition. Ignoring that, what you can do in addition to scaling it and moving it around, you can actually set its literal X, Y, and Z sizes. So I can say your X of 5,000, Y of 300, and Z of 50. And now I have a long, flat platform. I can drag it out just like everything else, and drag it down so that's possible. And we zoom up and notice moving things around in 3D is kind of hard. We're close. So now if we play, it should behave just like all the others do in terms of being able to stand up. And now we can run on a straight thing. So there are all kinds of BSPs, all different shapes. There's fancy ones like stairs. You can rotate these just like all the others. I know I'm moving kind of fast, but I'm kind of rushed because we're running out of time. And with stairs, very interestingly, you can actually just make more stairs. So you can tell the number of steps is like 50, and it just does that. We can make the inner radius 500, and we can make the angle of the curve 270. So it will actually curl all the way around. And look at it, in like 5 seconds, I made a really nice spiral staircase. So now we can jump, we can run up to it, jump. And this was actually how I made my very first Unreal Engine 4 game, which is Ethereal Escaped. Those in this room who remember that. It was a big ass spiral staircase because it was very easy. So, a few other things you can do. You can change the material from not being the stupid gray checkerboard. Yeah.
What happens if you make the angle of curve greater than 360?
I don't know if it lets you. Sometimes they do notice it's locked at 360.
Okay.
It does. Can I type higher than that? No, it's clamped.
Okay.
So we're actually going to go back to 270 because otherwise we can't run there. 270. Yeah. We can change a lot of things though. We can change it from clockwise to counterclockwise, for example. There's a lot you can do. But there are a ton of these. It's honestly on you to play with them. There's linear stairs instead of curved. There's actually spiral instead of curved, which can actually do multiple rotations up, etc. And that is basic level design. You know, drag out based on your movement mechanics, make it challenging, whatever. You can use models. You can use these BSPs. There's also landscape painting, which is a little more complicated, and I don't have time to show it to you guys today. But real quick, let's make the chairs explode is our last thing we do. So we're going to go to Edit, Project Settings. Right here, right? We're going to go to Input. I'm going to make a new one, a new action mapping called Explode. Hello. Call it Explode. And what key do we want it? Someone shout out a keyboard key.
F.
F it is. Sorry, I heard M as well. All right, so notice it gives us all the F, like the function keys. We're going to do F. F to pay respects for all the exploded chairs. So now, we go back. Sorry, I clicked through Windows really fast. I'm sorry. I just clicked back to the first person character tab, which if you somehow closed, you can double click here in Blueprints. Everyone there? Good? Actually, sorry, anyone not there? All right. Or anyone okay with not, anyone need help? Anyway, we're going to right click, and we're going to type explode. Because that's what we just named our new action, and we hit enter. And now it exists. Cool. And now we're going to do a few things. You're going to have to follow along closely because these are some nice blueprint features. And it's how you can interact with, say, other objects in our game beyond just your character itself. So we're going to drag out from pressed. And we're going to type get all actors of class. So everyone see that? I'm highlighted on it. I haven't pressed enter yet. And you press enter on it. And now, this will do exactly what you expect. We're going to tell it chair. Okay? So you click chair. Everyone with me so far? Any questions? Go once, go twice. All right. So what this will do, this notation with the square is an array in Unreal Engine 4. That's all it is, a list of now all of these actors. Every single actor in the game, for every single chair, it's now in this array. So we can drag out from this and type for each. And you want a for each loop, which will iterate through that entire array and do the same thing to every single one. Boop. I'm actually going to show you some good programming design really quick. Because what we could do is we can make the player tell them all, make an explosion effect, and then destroy yourself. And I'm going to tell you all that. But a smarter way to do it would be just tell the chair, hey, I'm sending this message to you. And then have the chair define its own behavior. So the code is better sort of sorted, organized. So we do this, but before we continue any farther, we're going to jump over to chair. Okay? If you're not in it, get there. Go to event graph. We have all these things. I deleted everything, so I have nothing here. If you have any translucent nodes, they're not going to do anything. I'm going to right click anywhere and type custom event. which is just making your own method in the event graph. You can also make a function on the left, but we're not going to do that. So we zoom in, we can name it anything we want. We're going to call it destroy. And now I have this little node that just says destroy. It says custom event. What we're going to say is we're going to do what we did before. Spawn emitter at location. Wow. Wow. Do that. Thank you. Spawn emitter at location. Choose the template, explosion. I'm rushing because I have 3 minutes. Location, drag out, get actor location. And so that is just like we did before, same exact thing. And now it gets the actor location of self, which in this case means the chair. And so we do that. And now, after we explode, we destroy actor, which is it's a function called to the engine, which says we don't need this object anymore, make it go away. So we do that, compile and save. Everyone have this? Yeah? Yeah, what's up?
What is auto destroy then? Do you need to destroy it even though?
Our destroy is going to be our own custom event.
auto destroy on the spawn emitter.
Oh, so auto destroy would be so what happens is this explosion particle will be created at a point, and it'll explode once. And with that checked, once the particle effect is done, the particle object deletes itself. If you have that set to false, it would still be there, and you could technically re-trigger it if you wanted to for some reason. Auto destroy is nice, especially for explosion effects that you only want once. So we want it to explode once and then never worry about it again. So that's what we're doing. So we do that, we save, cool, and then we destroy the actor. Now we're going to jump back over to first person character. And now we already have a loop that says for every single chair that exists in our game, the array element is the specific chair we're looking at. So we're going to drag it out. And with that chair, we want to run its destroy. I can't type. So there's a lot of destroy, right? Because that, that word means a lot of things in this engine. But at the top, we see call function destroy with this little arrow icon. See it? Click it. And now it says destroy target is chair. And this destroy is exactly referencing this destroy. So it'll just jump over and run this code in the context of the chair. So we drag from this loop body to that, and that should be it. So now, let me review what we have really quick. Upon pressing the explode button, which we have mapped to F, you will get every single chair in the game, loop through all of them, and for every single one, this is an individual chair, we'll call its destroy method. Then on the chair's end, it gets called the destroy method, which creates a little explosion where it is, and then it destroys itself. Any questions? Or is that pretty self-explanatory? I like to think it is, but I understand it's not. So we're going to see it in action. And let me know if you can't get it working, but for now, I'm just going to run forward and mash the C button. Jesus. I'm going to jump to the top of our fancy staircase. The chairs! Damn. We didn't add any way to protect ourselves from falling to our deaths, so we're going to try that again really quick. I'm going to stop now. Okay, so we see all of our chairs. Now if I press the F key, they all explode. And now they're gone. So I can mash the C button a million more times and probably kill myself, and then press the F key, and they all explode. And that is a very rudimentary glance into Unreal Engine 4. So I hope you all have enjoyed, and if you have any more questions about Unreal Engine 4, if you want to use it for a game jam or just to learn more, you can see that in not much time we had a fancy project that has all this motion blur stuff. There's a lot. There's so much I didn't get to go into, but I hope you've basically seen, well, if I want to make something happen, I now know at least what window to go into and sort of how to start. So if you have any questions after this, please feel free to come up to me and ask, and I hope you all enjoyed the first lesson of Unreal Engine 2016. Woo!